Let's make a Seitan Parmesan sandwich. Since we're making a seitan, we're going to need a simmering liquid. This is just a stainless steel pot that has a nice walled side and a good size. See, it's about the size of my hand. Into that, I'm gonna put some water. Fill it about halfway or so. And since this is our simmering liquid, I'm going to add some flavoring. Now, for flavoring, I'm gonna be using a little bit of thyme, and you can see the amount I'm using. It's about a teaspoon or so, maybe 2 teaspoons. And some basil, about the same amount. Also going to add a good couple pinches of salt, because this is for flavoring. Some black pepper. Alternately, if you wanted to, you could actually use something like this, which is the Kirkland no salt seasoning. I actually really like this stuff. It's a little bit on the spicy side if you're not used to it, but I actually like it, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in here too. That's kind of optional. It's about a teaspoon as well. I have this on medium-high heat. I just want it to come to kind of a low boil before we add our seitan to it. While our simmering liquid heats up, let's make our seitan. So for that, I have 1/2 cup of vital wheat gluten, 2 tablespoons of chickpea flour, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. You can use white wine vinegar if you really wanted to. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of thyme, and 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast. I'm just gonna mix that through. I know there's a little bit of liquid in there now, but I just wanna mix it up a little bit. Then we're going to add a 1/2 cup of veggie broth, and then mix to combine. If you've ever seen my video on how to make a simple seitan, this is the same recipe. Just trying to mix all that dry together, kind of folding it over on itself a little bit as we go, kneading it slightly. I'm going to dump it out onto a cutting board and give it a bit of a knead. It doesn't need to be kneaded a lot, but I like to do some to, just give it a little bit more texture. This recipe makes 1 decent size sub, just so you're aware. So you may have a little bit more or a little bit less seitan than you actually need, but hey, a little bit more doesn't ever hurt anything. Notice the difference in the texture now. See, it's starting to form fibers as I pull on it. That's what we're looking for. I want this to have a good texture, but I don't want it to be super firm or difficult to chew. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna kind of shape it into a fillet style piece about the size of our bun. Maybe even a little bit bigger than a bun is okay by me, but too much more is not good. Do have some pretty big rolls these are going to go on. It does expand a little bit in cooking too, so remember that. But this is going to be a little bit big, and hey, it's okay. If you're going to do something, it's okay to overdo it too, right? All right, so there is our seitan. Now we're going to cook it. Okay, so I have my cast iron pan on about medium-high heat on my stove, and to that I'm just going to add some canola oil. Use whatever kind of high heat oil you like. I am using a considerable amount. It doesn't actually stay in it though, so it's not as big of a deal to me, but got to get that heated up. Once it's hot, add the seitan. You should hear the sizzle. What I'm doing is cooking the outside of it, basically setting the size of the seitan, so this way it won't expand so much. I know a lot of people like to simmer, then fry. I'm going to fry, then simmer, then fry again. Usually takes about 5 minutes per side. I'll be back to show you when I flip it. One trick that I do a lot of time is I will kind of press it down, get underneath it, only a minute or 2 in. This has not really been cooking for very long at all. And I'm gonna flip it over already because that's sort of set, but now I can push down and keep it from expanding on me, because it's got a little bit of a crust there. But see that browning? That's kind of what we're looking for. We want that all around. Okay, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes. Let me just work around this, loosen it up from the pan, and I'm gonna give it a flip. Oh yeah, see that nice dark brown color? That is what I really want. For those curious, my oil is actually at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's perfect frying temperature. I'm just gonna press this down a little bit more, keep it from expanding. This might be a little bit big for our sandwich, but we're gonna do it anyway. Okay, a couple more minutes have gone by, and I believe this is going to be done. So let me just give it one last flip to make sure. Oh yeah, it's nicely browned on all sides. So here we go. I have my simmering liquid here. I'll just lift the pan so you can see it. See, right there? And I'm just going to pick this up and carefully place it into the simmering liquid and put that back on the burner. You want it to just barely be breaking a boil. And don't dip liquid into this pan like I just did, because it'll bubble up and that can burn you. Okay, so here is our simmering liquid, And you see it's boiling a little bit more than I really wanted to. I turned the temperature down. It's at 4 out of 10 on our stove. I usually play with that a little bit to get it just right, but that seitan was really hot going in, so that's fine too. I do want to simmer this for about half an hour, so 30 minutes. Keep an eye on your liquid level. You do not want this pan to run dry. While our seitan is finishing up, let's make the simplest marinara sauce ever. I have here some red onion that is diced up. I'm gonna say it's probably about a quarter of an onion maybe. That is a dry pan. No, I didn't put any oil in there. A little bit of salt, a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper, and get it moving around so nothing sticks. That pan is on medium heat, and it is just stainless steel. If you really wanted to add oil, you totally can. If it looks like they're starting to stick, I'll just add a touch of water. That cools the pan down, gets everything up. It's deglazing it. Just want them to go more or less translucent, soften up a little bit, give up some of their flavors. Just takes a few minutes. And then I'm gonna use some no salt added tomato sauce. Just canned stuff, pretty simple. You can use crushed tomatoes if you prefer. You can even use diced tomatoes if you like. Just makes things a little bit more difficult, so I'm keeping it simple today. Stir that through. Turn the heat down. I'm going down to like medium low now because I don't need this to be super hot. To that sauce, I'm going to add, I'd say about a teaspoon of garlic powder. Could you use fresh garlic if you want to? Absolutely. I just didn't have any fresh available at the moment, so I'm using some dried garlic powder. On top of that, I'm going to add some thyme, just maybe, that's probably about 2 teaspoons. Yep, 2 teaspoons worth of thyme and some basil. Go with about a tablespoon of basil for this one. Mix all that together. You can spend all day making a marinara sauce for this if you really want to. For this purpose, I'm trying to make something that you might do like for dinner real quick after work. So I didn't want it to be this super intensive process. I wanted to make things while other things were cooking. So all in all, this whole process should only take, half hour to 45 minutes, and you can make a couple of these sandwiches pretty easy. All right, so there's our marinara sauce, ready to go. Just got to cook that for a few more minutes while our seitan finishes up cooking. We still have 23 minutes left to go on that, so I'll see you when they're both done. Okay, I have my sauce turned down to low, and I did just taste it, and it's a little bit on the bitter side, and that happens from canned tomato sauce sometimes. So what I'm gonna do is add about a half teaspoon of plain old white sugar to it. It's an optional thing. You don't have to. I don't do it every time, just if it needs it, and that should help with the bitterness. Sweeten it up just a little bit, because this should be almost a sweet marinara sauce. After 30 minutes, here's our seitan. I'm just gonna pull it up out of the liquid and drain it a bit before I put it back into a hot pan filled with oil, because water and oil, as we saw earlier, it's like to spit. So here we go. Now, what I'm doing at this point is I'm crisping up the outside of the seitan, because I'm gonna cheat. I'm not gonna put the breadcrumb coating and all that kind of stuff on this. I'm really sorry if anybody really wanted that. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible so that anybody can do this. And I found the crispy coating cooked this way works just as well. So we just want a couple minutes on each side, and it is back up to the same temperature as it was earlier. It's actually the same pan, same oil, so nothing gets wasted. We're using everything. By the way, the simmering liquid can actually be reused. You can filter out the herbs if you want to, or just take the whole thing, put it in a container, put it in the fridge, and use it for the next time you make a seitan. Okay, the trick here is we don't want to burn it, but we do want it to be a little bit on the crispy side if we can get it. Not quite there yet. Another couple minutes. Okay, I'm just going to give this a flip. And a few more minutes on this side. While that last side is cooking, I have here some chow cheese, just a couple of slices. And what I'm going to do is break them in half and just kind of stack the cheese on top of our seitan. Something like that. Pop a lid on there for a few minutes to let it steam and melt. While we wait for our cheese to melt, let's get our bread ready. And this is just a basic hoagie bun. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm actually going to cut it completely in half, because that seitan is huge. And our cheese is melted, but I want to get the seitan out of there. And I'm just going to set it on some paper towels on the side, let some of that excess oil drain off. Now comes the fun part. Take some of our sauce on the bottom bun. Try to keep it on the bun. Then we'll grab our seitan and cheese, Place that right on top. Try not to knock it over. It's going to fall. This is top heavy. And of course, more sauce. As much as you like, really. Then, top of the bun. Now it's time for some pictures. Be back in a moment. And just like any recipe video should have, there's going to be a taste. This one I'm really looking forward to. Look at that sandwich. That looks absolutely amazing. Got some sauce dripping out the side. We got cheese. And that seitan actually looks pretty incredible. Time for a bite. If you are a fan of Parmesan, this is going to be your new favorite sandwich. I love this. This is just absolutely fantastic. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bistro.